Science.
Jobs.
Unsustainable.
Money pit.
Historic. Chaotic.
Radioactivity.
The Hanford nuclear site, which is designed to refine plutonium, was truly a triumph from an economic standpoint as it drove urbanization in the city of Richland, Washington. Yet, since Hanford officials conducted nuclear testing without the knowledge of local residents, the plant adversely impacted their health, making it a tragedy. Hanford, the dirty secret. Located along the lowly populated banks of the Columbia River in eastern Washington, in order to cool the nuclear power plant without any casualties, the Hanford nuclear site was established in January of 1943 as part of the Manhattan Project. Its initial mission? To secretly create the Fat Man bomb that would be dropped by the U.S. on Nagasaki in 1945. While production momentarily halted after their victory, the plant resumed operations in 1947 to develop a stronger military arsenal in the nuclear arms race with Russia during the dawn of the Cold War. This is a time of military and economic tension between the two countries. Although Hanford had profound impacts on the military, it was equally successful in growing the local economy of the town Richland, Washington, one of the Tri-Cities. Before the creation of Hanford, Richland was just a village of hard-working farmers, with a small population of only 200 by 1940. Life was peaceful, and the economy revolved primarily around agriculture. Due to this, if even one family-run farm had a bad season, the town's only industry would crumble. While life did change during the height of World War II, when the plant was first put into action, tremendous changes to the area didn't begin until the late 1940s, when Hanford started refining plutonium at a greater scale. To accommodate this, over 51,000 men and women from across the nation were employed. Whether it was to supervise the refinement workers or manage the site's operations, the workforce was diverse. As a town with very few residents and open land, Richland provided area for housing at a much lower price than the nearby cities of Pasco and Kennewick. As a result of this, the majority of Hanford's workers settled in Richland, setting up a path to urbanization. In less than a decade, Richland thrived as a bustling city with a population of over 21,000 and an annual growth rate of 59.87%. While the farming industry remained, it allowed other industries to come to life, mainly retail. Many new local and chain grocery stores were placed in Richland, including Fred Spudnuts, and Kroger. Through this, the retail industry experienced the most growth recorded, as the taxable retail sales was only $5.4 million from 1941 to 42, jumped up to $36.4 million in 1947 to 48. The increase in sales allowed for a better flow of money between the people and companies, eventually leading to a stronger economy. Given the higher demand with a growing population, the cost of living began to rise, and in relation, so did the wages of the high-risk jobs at Hanford. Harry Petcher, working for Hanford's food service, states during an interview in 2012, "The life was good. We did have the advantage of getting an awful lot of money. I was getting close to $1,150 a month. At that time in the 40s, that was great money." With a higher salary of $3,000 per month on average for each Hanford family and more grocery stores nearby, Professor Findlay says that the people could acquire a better standard of living. They were able to get food and other useful products with their money, giving them both wealth and comfort needed for them to live a happy life. Although the economic prosperity of Richland reveals a key part of Hanford's local triumph, the secret nuclear testing that took place there resulted in a significant tragedy for the local residents. One major incident was the Green Run, the largest single known release of intentional radioactive contamination at the Hanford site. On December 2, 1949, military officials purposefully removed the air filter in the plant's exhaust and allowed for radioactive iodine plumes to release into the atmosphere for a long-range monitoring test. In less than 2 days, over 7,780 curies of iodine-131 was let out so the Air Force could use atmospheric readings to determine the presence of nuclear testing to spy on the Soviet military. While designed to dissipate in numbers, the contaminated air unfortunately traveled with the current and went southeast towards cities including Richland. Yet, citizens were not evacuated like the 3 Mile Island incident that had only between 15 and 24 curies of iodine-131. Without awareness, radioiodine settled where the livestock grazed. Soon, residents were internally exposed to the livestock's milk that became highly toxic for humans. Jay Mullen was a kid near Richland who drank the radioactive milk, as he says during a show called Let Them Talk.
I was in a daycare center on the naval base where they made us drink milk. And when they released the iodine, it went straight to my thyroid gland and then bombarded it for 15 years.
Much like Jay Mullen, the iodine-131 affected thousands of people with both thyroid cancer and failures. The radioactive milk and other exposed animal products were bought from the new local stores by the people. And finally, making matters worse, none of the innocent residents of Richland and surrounding towns knew the side effects eating this would cause down the line. Over 9,000 children had thyroid cancer in the population as they consumed iodine-131 from an early age, 35% of which was through milk. Kay Sutherland was a downwinder at the time and goes back to the area of where hundreds of babies were buried, including her own.
It's amazing to see how many children all died at the same area, same era is what I'm trying to say. Right now, we have a 1950. My daughter Jennifer is also buried here. My daughter had double club feet, probable dwarfism. She had other anomalies that the autopsy didn't report.
However, several people didn't think that Hanford was the reason behind this. Scientists had claimed during the Green Run that the chronic illnesses and children deaths were not caused by Hanford because their personal accounts and stories did not contain any facts or research. A Richland resident who decided to stay anonymous recounts, "When I arrived in Richland in 1954, I was healthy, happy, full of energy. It wasn't long before I began having unexplained attacks of vomiting and diarrhea that sent me to the hospital. Tests could not explain my symptoms." The Hanford scientists were correct. The personal accounts didn't have any specific reasons of how Hanford was the cause. However, this is due to the lack of awareness on what Hanford was actually doing to the people. It wasn't until 1986 when the Department of Energy regarding nuclear material declassified important files on Hanford and the Green Run. All the information of what Hanford was producing and creating was kept a secret until the site was decommissioned. From there, it has been registered as a Superfund site, and new waste tanks were built to help contain radioactive pollution of the ground, air, and water. Despite the fact that the dirty secrets were let out to the public, Hanford is still causing damage in eastern Washington, as 68 of the current 177 waste tanks leak. To alleviate, specialized cleanup workers have treated over 2 billion gallons of contaminated groundwater, and measures have been taken to reduce the spread of contamination. Better hazmat suits were distributed to workers at the site, and new waste storage tanks have been installed. The economic growth in Richland allowed for the people to have a joyful life, but due to unsafe nuclear testing, many adults and children passed away. But now, the government is working every day to reverse the Hanford site's tragic nuclear footprint and create a healthy environment for the United States as a whole.